Welcome back, my fellow agents. It is I, X7, the martial arts master and host of Zenorama, the podcast of heroes and monsters. Today, we are going to be talking about the third movie in the Shaolin cycle. Apparently, they're counting martial arts of Shaolin or Hung Si Quan or Hungar and Wing Chun as one of them. It's not really set at the temple, so I don't count it. So, this is the Zenorama version of the martial arts cycle, because Lau Kar-leung and Chang Cheh didn't work on the final movie, Shaolin Temple, which we'll be discussing next week. And then we'll do some others, non-Shaw movies, I promise. So, having said that, there's one of the posters, pretty simple one there. Please like, share, subscribe, and leave a comment and ring that bell so that you'll always be notified of new content every day. Because, we don't have a lot going on around here in Fossil Bed. But we do have some trailer stuff to talk about.
Five men of destiny await the ultimate challenge. Death and destruction were the Manchu order.
As you can see here, the movie starts out with the burning of Shaolin. This was released on, I want to say Christmas Day. Yes, Christmas Day, 1974. So your humble agent was a whopping 9.5 years old and had not heard of the Shaw brothers. In fact, the only martial arts we saw was, I'd seen The Green Hornet with Bruce Lee, and then Kung Fu, the TV show Bruce Lee developed and didn't get to star in. He might still be alive today had he been in that. But be that as it may, Five Shaolin Masters, a.k.a. The Five Masters of Death, as you'll hear the breathless trailer talk to us about, right?
They murdered their way to victory. Nothing could stop them until they met the Five Masters of Death.
So they can do that. The film gives you a quick rundown of who everybody is. T. Long. It's a star-studded cast, really, if you know anything about these movies. It's just really an all-star film. It's 105 minutes long, so it did run quite a bit longer than, like 20 minutes longer, 25 minutes longer, 15 minutes longer than the other two movies, Heroes 2 and Men from the Monastery, aka Disciples of Death. Heroes 2 never got changed. We did not get a World Northall trailer for those two movies, really. There's Fu Sheng, and there's one of the villains with his rather unusual rope axe deal. I don't know how well if that was a real weapon or not. I don't know how well it would have worked in real life, because if you missed, if you yank it back, you run the risk of getting hit by it. Meng Fei also played Hung Si Quan in several movies, even after he played him before Fu Sheng did, and then after Fu Sheng had made Hung Si Quan, the lovable scamp that he was. Meng Fei also did that, but he would reprise this role as Fong Ta Hung in Shaolin Temple. Most of the actors would, except for Fu Sheng, because he was there as Fong Siuk, and they wouldn't have the same actor playing both parts. But we'll talk about that when we get to it. Chi Quan Chun played Li Shi Kai. He would also, I think he plays Hung Si Quan in Shaolin Temple. We'll look at that when we get to it again. I keep saying that, but it'll get you back next week, right? And there's David Chang being surrounded by the main villains back here, and just being very nonchalant and super cool about it. Now, a lot of times he gets a bad rap for not being a martial artist, but I think he does a great job, and he is the best actor of the bunch at this point in time, because Fu Sheng got better, and the other guys did as well, but he's already been starring in movies since the 70s, early 70s. The Triple Irons, a.k.a. New One-Armed Swordsman. He was the new One-Armed Swordsman in 71. Oh, Oh, you gotta be kidding me. It's not gonna let me do that? Is that gonna stop every time?
Out of the ashes of the Shaolin Monastery came the 5 Masters of Death, 5 new leaders to rally the people against Manchu slavery.
Now you'll see in the trailer at the end when you see this, you'll see a whole bunch of scenes out of order and kind of give the ending away, but you wouldn't know that until you watch the movie. Here we've got the Lau family is doing it, Lau Carlong, and probably his son or his brother. Blake would know. He's much more adept at this sort of thing, the Lau family. Someone really should do a book about the Lau family, Blake. I'm telling you, Blake. By the way, you can always get the Martial Arts Almanac. It's available on Amazon. It's well worth your time and money to invest in it. It's a great magazine. All right, and then here's one of our villains, and Chai Hung, and of course Wang Lung Wei as Ma Fu Yi. How I hate Ma Fu Yi so much, but he's so good, and he's such a great chemistry with Fu Sheng. It's apparent here, and it's really apparent in Shaolin Temple. They get a lot more time in there, although he doesn't fight the same guy. More of our villains, talking about them. Fu Sheng doing his comedy. Where the heck did I get comedy? Because they have the hand symbol here to recognize. It's kind of the opposite of the conquer the center with one stance. I don't know what this one is. They say it, but I didn't hear it at this point in time. But they're like, he's obviously the junior member of the group, and they treat him as such. So here they're swearing to defeat the Manchus, restore the Ming dynasty.
Kaofeng, if I should get killed in the city now, then do me a favor.
What's that?
If any more patriots come, you'll accept them and train them up.
That part comes later on in the movie. Chang Cheh, of course, we mentioned. And I just like the slap here. We called that a dot chong in Cantonese when I was studying Choi Li Fut, but it was the opposite direction, but he was hitting him around there. It's just a stooge slap. And more fight now. This is off the Blu-ray from Arrow Video, and I highly recommend it. The Shaw Brothers presents 4 films by Chang Cheh. So this is off the first disc, Five Shaolin Masters, and of course Shaolin Temple will be next week. But even so, even on a Blu-ray, it's hard to get good action shots because they're moving constantly, and I took 200 screenshots and ended up with about 70 that I could use. I like this one because he's got a Band-Aid on, and you wouldn't know it except for the clarity of this dang Blu-ray. But you can see it there, and it's covering it. Obviously, he got hit by something and scraped off he's got an ouchie. He needs a Band-Aid. His character also had internal injuries, so that's why they're fixing him up there. This is one of the villains, but he gets run off by this rabbit spear. I want to call it a rabbit spear. It's 2 tongs, and you'll see it later on with the guy who's been hunting rabbits, live rabbits. I don't ever like seeing live animals in movies being held up by their ears, so I know that that's an Asian thing, and, what do you do?
Be their leader, and don't just stay up in the hills.
5 new men of destiny.
Right there is a man of destiny as well. That's Gordon Lau, the master killer himself, with hair, which is just always weird to see, even if it's a wig. But this was the last movie that Chang Cheh did with Lau Carlong, and he was going to open a school in the U.S., but decided to go make movies for Shaw's for the rest of his life, really. Which would have been interesting, a Hungar studio. He would have probably gotten a lot of attention. And I just like this shot. That's where the rebels are hiding out in broad daylight. Now, Fu Sheng here is looking for his compatriots, Ma Chao Sing, and using his sign that he's finally remembered, and walking around without a shirt on. Must have been temperate there. Most of this was filmed outside, which is really a fun thing to see. The Shaw Brothers lot was huge. The two villains that you see here, the two figure out what he's trying to do and decide to accost him and regret it. But this gives an opening for Ma Fu Ying. Oh, I hate him so much. To take over now. He's just so good at being a villain. I think he later on in Instructors of Death, or let's see if I can find that, which one, Martial Club 81 wasn't the villain, so he did get to play a semi-heroic role then, and we will talk about that because I do like, that's one of my favorite of Master Lao's movies. But eventually Fu Sheng figures it out. He's played a bit naive here, but he says, "No way, you're the traitor." And then he runs out into the street, and this poor kid here, well, he gets captured. The other guy gets killed, I'm pretty sure. Here is that gang member that I think he's the leader of the triad. I couldn't quite figure out who this was, but David Chang went to see him to get his help, and he's like, "We're not going to help because that's how we are." So this is he's looking at the torture instruments that Ma Fu Yi has here. Oops. And finally, then they go to rescue him. And
5 new deadly ministers of Kung Fu justice. 5 new Kung Fu killing techniques. The whipping triple-jointed stick and a
triple jointed stick. It's actually got 4 joints to it. It's 3 joints, but 4 segments. It's a chain whip is what it is, the shorter one. The longer one has 9 segments. But here he is. He's changed his mind. He's become a patriot. He's out to save Fu Sheng's character from Ma Fu Yi. It's all his men. You can tell that they're all his men because they've got the little yellow triangle mountain. And then Ma Fu Yi's, all hell breaks loose, really, and they fight. And there he is challenging Ma Fu Yi, but unfortunately, we know what's going to happen here. His name wasn't in here, and I couldn't find it, and I'm sorry about that. They're escaping. Fu Sheng does not look that interested, but, you can see the difference there. David Chang is the one who's attentive and looking concerned, but they leave. And then, of course, the leader of the triad, or Tong, I don't even know which gang it was, but he's the gang leader. He sacrifices himself for the greater good, and they told him what was going on. This is his lieutenant, I would guess. And then the 5, Ti Lung and Fu Sheng and Meng Fei, and they all go back to Shaolin and find some weapons and decide this is how they're going to beat the other 5 guys that have been bothering them. Now, Beardy hasn't shown up yet, but he does. In fact, he might have been the one that kills Gordon Lau. And then got the pole. Yeah, and Ti Lung is still alive. He's 78 years old. Good for him. So the staff, as we call it, and then they berate Fu Sheng for Ma for not knowing his kung fu, his stork, and his tiger claw. So essentially, he's kind of playing Fang Shiyu again because that's what he's learning. And so they tell him he has to train up properly. So he does. And this is the dragon style, which is top and bottom. Very effective technique. But it's a little more subtle than, the dragon and the snake are more subtle styles. I just like these shots. They're just leaping through the air and everything, and they just sweat all the time. And here's a great one. It's just a great shot of the 2 of them. And now they've got a message. See, there's the rabbit pole again that tells them that they're on the move. And they go off. Look at this outside shot. That's just, and they just made do with it. They put them all in white because white over in Asia and China is the color of death, as opposed to black over here. So there's the five Shaolin Masters, five Masters of Death, if you will.
Avenging Reaper of Justice. The piercing pole, driving its way to victory for the five Masters of Death.
And there's, oh look, Higgin because Higgin rocks. You just never know where he's going to show up. All right, there's our heroes. They're ready to go. You can tell they've been outside because look at how tan. I don't even know which one that is, but they're ready to go. Their weapons are set. David Chang has his hidden. And we got the staff versus the axe whip axe, rope axe. I don't know what you'd call that thing.
The deadly tiger stork. No one escapes.
That's really true. So they're kind of giving away the whole plot of the movie here in the trailer. There's Fu Shang. That's a great shot of him. He would have been a big star. He really would have. And there's Beardy. So he's using a kind of a crane style himself. Not a trained martial artist at all. In Wikipedia doesn't even give him enough credit here. They don't even have a page for him. Lang Cha Jen, but everyone who knows, we call him Beardy. He was in lots and lots and lots of movies, usually as the villain. There's our other villain who is practicing a mantis style, supposedly the northern style, but he does not walk on his fingers like you see the villain in Warriors 2 do, which kind of takes you right out of the movie when he's standing. Well, if you've seen it, you know. We'll talk about that. Hopefully, I can find a copy of that because it's a fun movie, although it's a Wing Chun movie, and Wing Chun and Troy Lee Fut have a rivalry, if you will, because they were very dissimilar styles. So both very effective, and Bruce Lee had nothing but kind words to say about Troy Lee Fut, and he was trained in Wing Chun, so and he just took anything he could use and used it. But it's a good fight there. And there you can see that Ma Fuyi is sweating already, and I'm sure that they had to towel them off between takes. This is just a great pose. I mean, so only 3 of the 5 masters survive. A spoiler alert: it is a Chang Cheh movie, and if you don't know that people are going to die in it, people are going to die in it. They always die in it. Good shot of Beardy.
Crossed fists, pounding out revenge on Manchu murderers. The rolling death overwhelms all odds.
The rolling death gets killed, as does the crushing cross fists, which is not a thing. Rolling death is not a thing either. It's well, just watch the movie. This is a very reasonable set. It's $30 or so for all 4 movies, and on Blu-ray, can't go wrong. The other 2 movies are the 5 Deadly Venoms and not Mortal Kombat. That's the U.S. title, but Crippled Avengers. So once his rope has been taken away, right there, he grabs the head and puts it on a pole. And now he's a great staff fighter with essentially a monk's spade, which is what they would use to dig things up with, but used as a weapon as well. This does not bode well for either fighters. But there's David Chang wiping out the two Tonfa twins, as they're called on IMDb. And then they're Beardy, and Beardy kills his foe, but
Now tell me what those codes are. This one especially for you Manchu bastards. Do you like it?
See the 5 Masters of Death defeat the Manchu warlords. See 5 new Kung Fu killing techniques. See the 5 Masters of Death, rated R, from World Northall.
They're not new. These are hundreds, if not hundreds of years old. So here he's used the staff to take off the top of this guy's head. Chop, chop. and very, very painful, I would assume. It looks awful, doesn't it? And finally, here's our cross fists that are battling. Just some really good action shots here. Fu Sheng defeating Ma Fu Yi. Um, Pretty much the same way that Fong Sayek, well, spoiler alert, Fong Sayek defeats him in Shaolin Temple. But just in the middle of the air, they're doing their own stunts. That's amazing. And they're filthy because they're rolling around on the dirt all the time. I just like the way this looks because dun dun dun. And now the three survivors meet up and say, okay, let's go. They leave the bad guys. There's the Tonfa twins. Yep, all seven of them. Right there so that their compatriots find out, see, they've been dead, and now they don't know what to do because it's General Cheh, the bad guy. This probably does mean something. They didn't have the slates on in my copy, or I didn't have them on. And there they are. They lay their fallen comrades down, and that is the end. Look at all the extras they got there. Just, hey, you guys want to be in a kung fu movie? They show up. Or a historical kung fu movie, if you will. So and that's almost the end of our movie. But speaking of the Five Masters of Death, it was released here in the States in both the cinema and then probably later on onto television in a slightly edited form. This is the Manhattan. What a great place. See, the one time would have liked to live in New York would have been to grow up watching these movies, although it's rated R in 1974. Or even it got released over here in 75 or 76. Who knows when? I probably would have still been too young to see it. But here, the Blu-ray has the original opening for the US version, Five Masters of Death. So I took a couple of shots here. They got all their names right. And then just how they did that there. And there's the Blu-ray itself. And finally, we are done. So highly recommended to get that Blu-ray set. There's a lot of Blu-rays now out there that I'd like to get, but some of the movies I don't care for as much as others. That's just, personal taste. But my fellow agents, this is the end of our show. I hope you've enjoyed it. And just always remember, the traitor is always the last person you think of now, isn't it? But until our next assignment, this is X7 signing off.
Five men of destiny await the ultimate challenge. Death and destruction were the Manchu order. They murdered their way to victory. Nothing could stop them until they met the Five Masters of Death. Out of the ashes of the Shaolin Monastery came the Five Masters of Death. 5 new leaders to rally the people against Manchu slavery.
Kalfang, if I should get killed in the city now, then do me a favor.
What's that?
If any more patriots come, you'll accept them and train them up. Be their leader. And don't just stay up in the hills.
5 new men of destiny. 5 new deadly ministers of Kung Fu justice. 5 new Kung Fu killing techniques. The whipping triple-jointed stick, an avenging reaper of justice. The piercing pole, driving its way to victory for the 5 Masters of Death. The deadly tiger stork. No one escapes. The crushing crossed fists, pounding out revenge on Manchu murderers. The rolling death overwhelms all odds.
Now tell me what those codes are.
This one especially for you Manchu bastards. Do you like it?
See the 5 Masters of Death defeat the Manchu warlords. See 5 new Kung Fu killing techniques. See the 5 Masters of Death. Rated R from World Northall.